Hello, hello. Welcome to this episode of Do What You Love, Unlock Your Creative Life Through Conversations with Cool People. I am so excited about this episode because I'm going to be sharing with you one of my favorite people, Barbara Majeski. We are going to talk a lot about not only living your creative life, living a more fulfilling life, but also a lot about reinvention because she has reinvented herself multiple times throughout her career and has had a lot of fun doing it. She has a really fun life. She's created a very incredible life that she really loves. And so we're going to talk all about how you can do the same thing. So Barbara is the CEO and founder of the More Life Collective. It's a personal development movement focused on empowering driven individuals to improve their health, wealth, and happiness through signature resets, challenges, and retreats unique to the brand. She is a TV personality, so you might have seen her on the Today Show, Good Day New York, New York Live, and the Nick Cannon Show. She is just full of courage. She is courageous. She goes after her dreams, and she is such an inspiration. So, Barbara, thank you so much for joining me today.
That bio was a mouthful.
I mean, you've done a lot. I mean, I kept things out because I know we're going to talk about it. Yeah. So why don't you kind of let people know over like high level overview, yeah. Who are you?
So, well, Kate, thanks for having me. And I'm so impressed with everything you're doing. I love that you are all in. That is going to be my line for the week. Go all in. Sometimes it's not that you don't know it, but it's so good to hear it. It's like, surround yourself with good people. They're going to like infuse your subconscious mind with good stuff. So
yes.
I'll answer that question. So at 42, decided to launch into my dream career of being a television personality. My background is in sales. I scaled sales teams. I was a stay-at-home mom for a decade. I was a philanthropy ambassador. I mean, it's just all over the place. But at 42, after battling stage 3 colon cancer and surviving that, I was like, the one thing that I regretted when I was in my treatment was never pursuing TV because I had such a negative self-talk. I wasn't pretty enough. I wasn't tall enough. I wasn't short enough. I was underqualified, overqualified. And I came out of the chemo treatments with this new zest of like, I'd rather fail trying. Like I'd rather fail in the pursuit than actually fail to try anything. And I was like, you know what? Let me go for TV. So I started doing TV and people loved what I'd go. I'm a curator. I like find, test, and share like lifestyle stuff. I'm like, whatever. People loved that. But Kate, more than anything, they're like, how'd you do that? Like, how'd you fall out of the sky and onto the Today Show? I fell out of the sky and on the Today Show. If anybody was like following me on Facebook, they're like, you were on the Today Show last week. And I was like, yeah, I was. Yeah, I just
no big deal.
Living the dream life. I'm like literally like I have a great story about like I had saw myself so much on the Today Show in my dreamscape that when I actually got there, I was like back in the green room grabbing my bagel and a schmear because I was like home. I was like, I have been here 1,000 times in my head. So by the time I get there, I was like, ain't no imposter syndrome here. I'm like, I have been here, grab my bagel.
You're like, you're welcome, everybody. I have arrived.
Let me out on the plaza to go, kiss babies and, shake hands. But what people were loved to the stuff, but more than anything, the curiosity was like, how'd you do that? And I started to answer them. What you ever answer? Can you ever do this? You answer and you're like, that's not the answer. I would say I hired a media trainer, which is true. I hired a media trainer, but I was like, that's not the whole, I'm not giving them enough. And I realized you can't just buy things and get outcomes. You can't just buy books and buy a media trainer and buy a coach and buy all these things. You have to actually do the work. And it all starts like from the neck up, like the checkup from the neck up, check yourself before you wreck yourself. And so I started to put together like more usable, actionable like courses. Like you cannot buy a Peloton and get in shape. So it started to be like, you have to use the Peloton to get in shape, right?
Right. Imagine that.
I know. And that's the hard part. And that's the disconnect everyone has. Like I bought the Peloton and I'm still huffing and puffing and I'm, so I just wanted to teach more people to go from their inspiration to their actualization through taking action, and give them the mindset of relentless pursuit. So that was really the birth of the More Life Collective. It's a community helping people move from where they are to where they ultimately want to be by taking action. I'm very much like that book on how to make a baby ain't gonna get you pregnant. You gotta do the work. Right? Like, that's what I'm trying to teach. Like, I know. And it's like, so you're like, oh, I know what you need to do. Right? Like, you have the same thing with getting in shape, transforming your life, optimizing your health, your wealth, and your happiness doesn't take inspiration or motivation. It takes action. That's
Yeah.
that's the salt and pepper. I give you
That's the ingredient. So why do you feel, I mean, you work with a lot of very like driven individuals. That is your market, right? You even say like, I want people that are going to do the work. So why, like, what is it that stops us from pursuing all of those things that we really want in our lives?
I think we're messaged the wrong things. We're messaged that when you wake up in the morning, like Rocky, right? You wake up in the morning, it's your 5 a.m., like music's going to be playing and your theme song is going to be out there and people are high-fiving you in a cold meat locker and you're running the stairs of Philadelphia and like, there's like I remember watching Rocky and be like, I'm getting up tomorrow morning. I'm going to go for a run. And I was like, I wake up and I'm like, where's my theme music?
What's going on? This is not motivating.
It's not motivating at all. And it's, I think the disconnect is we think we're supposed to be motivated and inspired all the time. And people keep asking this question. How do you stay motivated? How do you stay inspired? You don't. Nobody does. Those are emotions, and emotions ebb and flow and they come and go, and they are not going to get you from New Jersey to California. Consistency, discipline, regimen, routine, perseverance, persistence. And I just think we're messaged like you're always going to get on the Peloton or the bike, or you're going to show up at the gym and be like, you're not. Some days you will, but some days you won't. But you have to learn how to do the work even when you don't want to do the work. You have to do the things consistently. So I think the messaging is all wrong to society, that if you buy the things, you get the things. And I'm trying to say, you know what? When you do the things, you get the things. When you do the right things, you'll get the things. And let me teach you how to stay consistent and not teach you how to be motivated I'm going to teach you how to cry all the time. Those are emotions. Your goals do not care how you feel. They don't care. They don't care you're not in the mood. Your goals are like, get up, do the work. So you got to so anyway, I'm trying to message that more of like, join my community and I'll help you stay consistent and committed to your goals. And I'm also, and you know this, Kate, through journaling, I'm going to help you get clear on what it is that you really want. Let's get clear on what your good life looks like, not my good life. How do I optimize? So yes, my community is with driven people because they show up and they're like, I got more in my tank, but I struggle with staying consistent. I struggle with motivation. I struggle to finish what I start, or I fail to start because I'm overwhelmed with the process. So I'm your person for that. I'm like, I'm going to get
So what I love is, because inspiration, motivation, people, there's so much out there, right? There's books and resources and YouTube videos. There's all of those. There's tons of resources. We do not lack knowledge. We do not lack resources. But what's so cool, what I think about with inspiration, motivation is you get inspired when you show up and do the work. So if you don't feel like it, how many times have we not felt like going and working out? And then you just start. You start taking that walk, you start doing the Peloton, whatever it is, and you're like, okay, now I feel good. And then you're done and you have more energy than when you started because you feel so good that you did it. It's the same thing with any of the work that you really want to pursue. So for you, you have such an interesting career because you have, I mean, you come from a sales background and now you have this More Life Collective. You've done you went through like a traumatic experience dealing with cancer. Like you've lived a life. You've lived a life. You have reinvented yourself. So I want to hear what is your definition of a creative life? Like, what does that mean to you?
I think that's a really great question. I think living your authentic, true self and allowing yourself to express yourself as you feel comfortable. Like coming to that space, that higher expression of who you are, where you're no longer worried about everybody else's opinion of you, but you are really starting to vibrate what makes you happy and whatever that means to you, being okay with putting yourself out there and expressing yourself. And I think that takes like a lot of courage, and that takes a lot of like, I don't know how this is going to play out, but I'm going to take the next right step. So, for me, it's living authentically you and what makes you happy, and not by anybody else's social constructs or, there these, I don't know, societal paradigms. It's so liberating. So I'll share this, Kate. I was at a conference. I spoke at 10X Ladies a year ago. And right before I spoke, Gary Brecka, who's the 10X health guru, who I love, gets up there, asks the audience, what emotion can you give out so you can connect with other people? So other people can really connect and like understand you. And everyone's like, love, love. Like we're all like in unison singing, like, you got to be loving and love. And he's like, no, the vibration that you need to conduct yourself at is authenticity. You want to connect with people. You want to find your like tribe. You want to vibe. Be authentically you. And when he said that, Kate, I go, oh, I'm going to nail my keynote tomorrow, because I am so good at being Barbara Majeski. But when I try to be somebody else, it's awful. I mean, I was full on Barbara Majeski in the middle of my 10X. I was like, I forgot my train of thought. And I was like, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. And because he gave me that, like, I just needed to hear it. I think everybody needs to hear it. He gave me that like green light to just go be you, Barb, because if you want to impact this audience and leave a legacy of great value, then the universe is asking you to be the best version of you without inhibitions and holdback and fear of judgment. Just be you. So that to me is living your creative life, is being you.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Well, you are very good at being you. You're the best at being you, actually.
Nobody does it better. Nobody does it better.
What do you feel like I feel like a lot of people, especially when they hear you, now we're part of similar communities. We get to hear each other kind of share our messages. I want to know, because I think when people are watching you, they think, oh my gosh, Barbara is so confident. You share your message. You are so articulate in your thought process and what you say. And I think a lot of people have a message that they want to share, right? They want to start a blog or a YouTube channel or a podcast or something, but they don't feel quite as, they're like, well, Barbara, she was on TV. She's professionally trained to do this kind of stuff. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to start doing something like this, or creating my own type of community, or building kind of whatever it is that they want to build. They feel like they can't. And what would you say to someone that is kind of like, well, she has all these skills and I don't have them?
Right. So first of all, it's always so funny when people are like, she's so confident, because the human condition, actually, the thing that we all have in common is that we all suffer from insecurity. We all suffer from self-doubt and fear and like, oh my God. Again, I go to just always showing up to be authentically me. And I do say this to myself. I always ask, like, okay, tell me about your audience. What are we talking about today? How can I impact? So in my head, when I have to do something, I always go to, okay, how can I serve? How can I help others? Like, how do I do that? And when I lead with like, and I let it be not so much about me, and I hope I look good, and I hope and I'm like, well, I think when your intention is in alignment with service, your execution is very much more fluid. That's number one. Number two, Oprah Winfrey gave me great advice that everybody needs to hear. And it is something that has been like a through line for me since hearing it. So I went to the Oprah show back in 2004. And I got to ask a question because I raised my hand. And Kate, this is energy for you, because I was in a sea of people. I was tucked in some seat next to like I don't even know. I'm like, and I'm like waving my little, I ain't that tall in real life. there, like everyone else, all nine, like, I don't know who's in there, 300 people, 200 people. I don't know. I can't count. And she turns and she looks at me, she points to me. I almost passed out because Oprah is Oprah.
Yeah.
Hello. And I said, Oprah, what kind of advice? First of all, I told her she looks smashing because she did. Yeah. And then I said, what kind of advice would you give to somebody who aspired for your level of success? Because in my mind, I'm like, I'm going Oprah big, right? Like you're saying you're all in. I'm like all Oprah in, right? That's what we need. We need that all Oprah in. What hashtag is that? So I was like, all right, if I'm going to, and mind you, at the time I had just become a stay-at-home mom. So I'm asking this larger than life human being, like, how do I do what you did? Mind you, I'm changing diapers and all that, but you never stop dreaming, even if you take a little hiatus from, a career or profession. And she said, you can never aspire for anybody else's level of success. Success is a byproduct of living in service of others, of using your gifts and whatever that is, and using your gifts to serve others. So whenever, Kate, I get lost in my sauce and I get discouraged and I want to quit everything, I'm like, I am here to live a life of service. I'm here to use my gifts to serve others. And it's a through line that when you need that buoy in the storm, you need somebody to throw you that life raft, grab onto that. Like, I'm here to live a life of service. And it'll make some of your adversity have clarity, your struggle, something that you will persevere through. And it could really be, it is a port in a storm. So yes, I take a long time to answer short questions.
No, it's such a beautiful story. And I think it's really inspiring because it can be challenging especially in this world of social media, right? Like when we were growing up, we didn't have all access to everyone in the world that was sharing a message and kind of have this idea of comparison, right? Like it's already hard enough to compare yourself to the people that you are surrounded by locally. Yeah. And now we have the world and all these people sharing messages. And I think it can be really difficult for people to remind themselves of what is the message that you want to share. So you have the authenticity that you talked about, and then being in service of others, using your authenticity, like using your message and sharing your message. And that takes a lot of courage to do, because when you start to do that, what happens is you get the critics, you get the haters, you get people that show up that are telling you, hey.
But when you're in alignment with your higher calling and that service, that's a reflection on them. And that also,
totally,
you have to build that armor. And the only way you build your alliance with your vision is you have to build these muscles of fortitude, and muscles of fortitude and persistence and resilience and tenacity, all of those muscles, because that's what they are. They need to be built. You don't buy them at Barnes and Noble. You're not getting them from your Stanford education.
You can't Amazon? They don't have it at Amazon?
You can't add to cart. No add to cart, okay? You cannot add to cart. I would like a little resilience, please, for $20. Resilience, all of it is a muscle that is built only through adversity. So you need to learn how to thank all of those haters for that opportunity to see if you were too weak to not persist. And that's what it's all about. There isn't that a hater is a reflection on their own, mishigas, as we say in Yiddish. I can't find the right word right now. Their own crap, that's, mishigas is so much better. But anywho, and you just, it's all out there. But honestly, that alignment, and also, Kate, your adversity, when you use some of your challenges, your setbacks to help other people, it really is the only emancipation from suffering. You are uniquely you, and you've had your unique experiences, trials, setbacks, traumas, tragedies. And we can all, listen, we're all going through something that nobody know nothing about. But sometimes we have to use it as fuel to serve others. And you can't do it immediately. It has a way of showing opportunity down the line. You just have to trust and surrender to that. But it's so true. The only emancipation from suffering is to help others.
Period. So, like I mentioned, you've reinvented yourself. I think as people get older, you're in your 20s and 30s and the 40s, and different things, we become curious about different things at different times in our lives. And for some people, they kind of stay on this one trajectory and this one career path, and they build this career, and it's however long. I mean, my dad worked for the same company for 41 years. Like that, doesn't happen anymore. So there's so much opportunity to really reinvent yourself. So what over the years have you learned through reinventing yourself multiple times over?
So I think whether you think you can or you think you can't, Henry Ford is one of the best things you can learn. You have to take inventory of your own bullshit. So for me, it's like, I'd rather try. So many people have such bullshit narratives that allows them to rest and not try and not put themselves out there. You know what? I got married. I was a stay-at-home mom and I gave up my career. That is a story. That is a crap story. I'm sorry. I don't buy into that one. You know what? You got to tell yourself better stories than that. I left a thriving career so that I could be a stay-at-home mom, so that I could really learn, be with my kids. But I don't talk negatively about it. Well, there's a gap in my resume. Stop that. You say that? Yeah, that's a false narrative. There's no gap in your resume unless you were sitting around eating bonbons. But if you are giving life to a human being, if you actually built and developed a human being, there is no gap. There's no gap. Oh my God, you are a Marine, moms. Moms are Marines. You can exist on zero sleep, vomit all over you, and still get dinner on the table. You are you know how to put together things that show up with this and this and make a stroller. Make a stroller. You know how to put shit together. You know how to read instructions. You know how to turn on a dime. You know how to handle things, sleep deprivation. You're a motivational speaker because you know how to get your kids motivated. You know how to handle adversity and think tall. You know how to there is nothing like a stay-at-home mom getting back out into the workforce. But if you say that's a gap and you say, I gave up everything, you just pivoted into a different career. You were the CEO and the founder of the family enterprise, and you are now a Navy SEAL, okay? But we just shape things and say things like people are like, my marriage failed. That's negative self-talk. These are negative narratives that are so defeatist and toxic. And I'm like, I'm divorced. You will never hear me say my marriage failed. I have 3 amazing kids. I took my marriage as far as it could go. I had the chutzpah to leave, and now I'm living a different life. But my marriage failed? What is your definition of a failed marriage? I see marriages failing left and right, and they're still married. So I don't know.
Right? That's a good point. And you learned so much. You learned so much from all that. You talk about some of the lessons that you've learned. This is what you're sharing even in your collective is from all of these, what some people call a failure. Like, no, if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be here. Look at my incredible life.
And rewrite the script. I wasn't good at this, or maybe I learned that wasn't really what made me happy. And I just took it as far as it could go. But then I pivoted. Find your story that isn't so toxic, because your subconscious mind has no sense of humor. What you tell it is, I failed at this and I gave up everything for everyone else. And yeah, I gave up. Number one, those words are totes toxic. No, you made a choice to shift your priorities because you had your head on straight and that worked for your family. And that was what worked for you in that moment. And that makes you a winner. But if you say, I gave up instead of my priorities shifted and I pivoted to really be the best version. And then you find all the things you learned as a stay-at-home mom or whatever you decided to pivot to do. Man, I'm telling you, you would want to hire me because I don't need a lot of sleep anymore. My little little beast taught me how to be a Navy SEAL. So
Well,
anyway,
you learn, that's what I love about just you're collecting experiences, you're collecting new skills, you're gaining new confidence. There's so much that you're learning in every phase of your career that you now are able to take to whatever you decide to do next, whether it's a new job, whether you want to start a business, whether you want to start a creative passion project, whether you want to go and raise a family or whatever it is. And I do believe that most people, we are making the best decisions for our lives with the information that we have. Like that is all that we can do.
Yeah, no,
And
100%. Did you see a little child just ran in and out, and I'm like, why did she not say hello? Somebody in my house, quiet as a church mouse. But yes, I can't stress enough. Really having people look at how they write their life story, how they say their true Hollywood story. Are you a victim? Are you a victor? Are you like constantly just like using words that are so toxic and detrimental to your experience and your life choices? And are you beating yourself up, or are you applauding some of some of the things that you've overcome? So I love helping people reshape it. When people say stuff and I listen and I'm like, oh, that's cute. That's what I'll be like, oh, that's so cute. I battled cancer, I went through a divorce, I have a son with epilepsy. We all got our dramas. I got
we
drama.
all got our dramas.
Drama.
Well,
We're
you're sharing a really great message. And you also wrote a book called Sabotage to Success. So let's talk about your book. What was the process of writing it? Are you excited to get it out into the world?
So here's the truth. The reason why I can speak about this stuff is because I had to eliminate my own bullshit in order to optimize my life. I had to stop coming out. I had to stop saying these things, and I had to reframe my own true Hollywood story so that it really empowered me to realize I am a tough ass mother effer. Like I am not, like I have been through not the victim, but holy mother, like, whoa. And I realized that until I took inventory of my own negative self-talk and my choices and the people I was surrounding myself with, I was stuck in cycles. Like nothing changes if nothing changes. And I had to change what was up here, and in order to start changing the things in my life, because excuses weren't getting me anywhere. And I had the blessing and the curse of going through cancer, which gave me kind of a new, like cleaned off the lenses, I mean, I was confronted with my own mortality at 42. And when I really got clear with like my own bullshit, I could kind of start swiping left. I'm like, I cared so much about what people would say. Oh my God. I remember, here's a good one. So I remember, and that's what Sabotage to Success is all about. But this is something people need to hear. So I'm like, survived cancer and all the things. And I'm like, I'm ready to go on TV. I'm in my 40s and I'm 0 F's give. I give 0 F's. I'm done. It's over. I decided I was no longer going to care about other people's opinions. So I'm watching the news and I'm visualizing myself on TV, and I have a media trainer, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm probably going to have to report from the dumpster fires in like the bowels of New Jersey. And it's probably going to be like 30 degrees. And I'm like, oh my God. And I can see myself like hanging by a pole and my legs like just flying in the wind. I have this whole like catastrophic scene. And in this catastrophic scene of my legs being lifted by the tornadoes of New Jersey, I'm like, oh my God, what are people going to think? But I finally heard myself say that. And I was like, oh, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care what other people think because I am now living out my dream career, which fine. I'm the lowest ranking person in news and media and I'm reporting from, nowhere. I don't know. But that through line runs through so many of our subconscious mind. Oh my God, what are people going to say? And what are people going to think? And when you take hold of that, you're like, oh wait, I no longer care. It is so liberating. I'm like, oh wait,
Yeah.
what people's opinions of me, I have no jurisdiction of. I have no jurisdiction over anybody's opinion. So screw it. I'm going to report from the dumpster fire bowels of New Jersey. But I ended up, my first booking was the Today Show. So much for that.
I mean, no big deal. But see, that's so awesome that you created that and designed that. And gosh, it's so, the caring what other people think really holds so many people back when in reality, what's so interesting is that nobody's actually really thinking of you. Like, right? Like, sorry, everyone. Like, no one's actually really putting that much time and attention. They might for a second say something like, oh my gosh, Barb looks so ridiculous or whatever it is, but that's it. And they're moving on because you know what they're thinking about? Themselves, their favorite topic. So we put so much pressure on ourselves and we care so much what other people are thinking when it does nothing for us. Like it literally means absolutely nothing. And so to get that, it is a practice. It's that mindset practice of moving forward, pushing forward. And then when you get those comments or someone says something or someone questions what you're doing, you're just like, thank you, and move on.
And I talk about that actually in the book. I talk about judgment because it's not so much how people are judging you, because again, you don't have any jurisdiction over it. So you got to learn to let it go. But you also need to take inventory of how you're judging everyone else out there and everything else out there, because you have a choice. You can either get judge things or you can get curious or you can be compassionate. Like you have choices. You have three. Okay, I'm going to judge the shit out of that based on the small information that I have. Or I wonder how they do that or why they're doing it. Or you're saying, you know what? They're battling something I know nothing about and I just let it go. I have had to learn that. I think the universe has a very funny sense of humor. I'll share this. Before my marriage fell apart, I went through cancer and I've been through, it was like the universe was like, had to put me on a spin cycle of like, we got to shake the tree because you're not really living at the higher expression of you. So prior to me going through all these things, I would run the stadium stairs in Princeton. And I remember running with a group of women and we're gossiping about this other woman whose husband, it didn't work out. Let's just say that. And I was like, well, if that happened to me, I would never. And I was like, so judgy pants. Like I had all the answers in the world. I would never. And I would do this and this would happen. And he would be, and I could, so I really was. And I remember we were like, yeah, oh my God. And so the universe was like, well, hold my beer. So that this all of a sudden happens to me. And I'm in the mix of it. And everything I thought I would do, I could not do. I was like, oh my God, you can't do until you walk a mile in somebody else's shoes, you better just zip it up and offer curiosity or compassion, whatever you want. But I had no business judging that woman. And it taught me I have no idea unless I've walked. And because of it, I've become a kinder, more compassionate, more you know what? I don't know that person's experience. And I think it's brought me to a higher level of me. And I'm just an easier person to be around. I'm not going to judge you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be you do you, boo. You're coming from your own experience. I even said I would never do chemo because it was poison. Hold my beer. The universe says to me. And then I get diagnosed with cancer. I'm like, well, I got to do chemo because I have 3 kids counting on me. So it's just very interesting. I've become more curious, more compassionate, and so much less judge. It only hurts you the way you judge. You look like a donkey too when you.
Oh my God. Well, yeah, it's funny because as you're talking, I'm thinking about especially when I was in my 20s, I remember I worked at a chamber of commerce. So I was working with a lot of older people, like in their older people my age now, right? Like 30s, 40s, 50s and beyond. And so I remember thinking, oh my gosh, there were some people that I would meet and think, oh my gosh, I'm never going to let that happen. Like people that have just some of the things that they've dealt with or failed businesses or marriages or any of those things. And I remember thinking that. And of course now, because I've experienced life, I'm like, oh, okay, no, that I get it. Like it's life. Like, and to have that compassion for people. And you already said it, is that everyone's going through something that we know nothing about. And so to be able to have that compassion for one another and to just know and believe that everyone is kind of doing the best that they can with the resources that they have. And that as long as you know that they're coming from a good place and they want to serve, I think that's a beautiful thing. And that is what your message is. That is what you're doing with the More Life Collective. That is what your book is about. Where can people connect with you, buy your book, get involved in your community?
Absolutely. Barbara Majeski at Instagram. I don't even know, Facebook, the morelifecollective.com, barbaramajeski.com. I do have a very cool challenge that's coming up starting November 1st. And I know it's like, why are you talking about November? But it's really one of my most popular workout challenges. It starts November 1st. It's a holiday workout challenge. And everyone should sign up for it. For anybody that doesn't want to show up New Year's Eve, busting and disgusting, I want you to put on my newsletter, make sure that you don't miss it, because people's biggest gripe was like they missed the start date, so they got in late. So I'm starting now, and I'm like, the best thing that if you want to start 2024 smoking hot tamales, you got to join the collective. You got to you come, just find me, follow me, newsletter, and get ready for one of my challenges.
All the things, all the things.
All the things.
Well, Barbara, it is so fabulous to see you. I always enjoy our conversations. And like we started before we even recorded, it was just this, being around people that are in my book, I call your creative friends. You need to have creative friends that are out there doing the work because they understand and they know the challenges that come along with putting yourself out there. And you have to have that courage. And so just like feeding your mind and your soul, you have to have those people around you that are cheering you on and supporting you. And even when things aren't working out, you're like, got to keep going. And these people push you. So you are one of those people.
Thank you. And they've also all been through the muck. So
that's right.
They're not like thrown off. They're like, yeah, welcome to the big leagues. Thanks for playing along. I want to just close on this. This keeps coming across my news feed. The number one factor for success are the people you surround yourself with. The number one. It isn't working out, drinking water, journaling. It's not number one. Number one is the people that you keep counsel with. So yes, no, really, really strong to close with.
That is a strong point. And it makes absolute total sense because the people that you're surrounded with, not only they're supporting you, but those are the people that you can collaborate with and build things with.
And that understand you. So your vibe is your tribe, or your tribe is your vibe. So surround yourself with good people. And if you don't have good people, join the More Life Collective and you'll be surrounded by some really great, fun people.
Awesome. Well, Barbara, you are awesome. I will put the links below for people to find you, connect with you, and I'm very excited to read your book and excited for your challenges. And hey, thank you for the work that you're doing and what you're putting out in the world. Oh, before we go, we always end with, because we want to make sure that people are taking action, always taking action. So what is one activity that someone can do today in 10 minutes or less to live a more creative life?
If you are struggling, go for a walk. If you are, go for a walk, grab your sneakers, go for a walk, get out in nature. There's no bad weather. There's just bad clothing. Go for a walk.
I love it.
I'm telling you.
Easy, simple, easy. 10-minute walk. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone for watching. We so appreciate you, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, Kate.